Welcome back to the House again this evening, Minister, and thank you for taking the bait. I too would like to join in the many tributes that have been paid to Senator Van Turnout this evening for putting forward this motion. And I know when you sent around the email last week, everybody, without hesitation, and regardless, I think, of whip system and everything, I know my email went straight back because I said this is something that, first of all, as a parent, I feel so strongly about, and with the whole publicity that there was last September over the whole pageant, I find, I must say, even listening to the debate this evening, I find some of the aspects of it purely sickening, that our children are being exploited. And we talk about child abuse and we talk about parents and unfit parents. To me, parents who subject their children to pageants like this are equally guilty of child abuse. I think we're taking away our innocence from our children. We're subjecting them and not allowing them be the innocent children that they should be. Straight away I've gone off what I've prepared. But first of all, I'd just say that in the motion, Senator Van Turnout states that childhood is a time-specific and unique period in a person's development and is a distinct space from adulthood. And I think that really is at the heart of the motion. There are a laundry list of things that can tarnish and at times ruin childhood. But I think as parents, and I think Senator Mooney brought up a very valid point and very true, that we are first and foremost, it's the parents' duty to look after the children. We can't blame anybody else. We can, as legislators, help to frame it and help to put legislation in place that will stop it happening. But we, as parents, are the people who primarily educate our children and teach them right from wrong. But we have to protect our children, I feel, from unnecessary harms to their development and self-esteem. And I think that without question, judging a 7-year-old on her physical characteristics or her swimwear is a totally unnecessary harm. Many people have made reference here to the programme Toddlers and Tiaras. I think, first of all, I've never seen the programme, but I have seen it when you go on to Sky and you look at the programmes. And, first of all, I think you've got to look at the American shows that put it out. And yes, we can blame the television stations and we can say, well, look, so much of what goes on in this country has been influenced by American television. But I think when you look into it, I know just reading before it, people mentioned the fake tan and all the things that go on. But there's something reference made there that the more extreme parents subject their little girls to Botox, facial threading. I don't even know what facial threading is. Waxing, hair and nail extensions and fake teeth. There's also reference, and I really find this obscene, that in Toddlers and Tiaras, I just quote from the article here, is it any wonder that the children on Toddlers and Tiaras sometimes have dramatic meltdowns? If you were as a small child, were forced to wear false breasts to perform as Dolly Parton, an approximation of Madonna's conical breast costume, or Julia Roberts' Hollywood hooker costume and Pretty Woman, I find that's completely offensive to young, innocent girls. It's dreadful, and I think that's where that programme might be extreme. I still, I think it's totally offensive. A child should look like a child, and I very much welcome, Minister, the endorsement of children's wear guidelines that you issued in June 2012, as well as the Irish Dancing Commission's rules prohibiting makeup and artificial tanning products for the under-10s. And I too would feel that this perhaps doesn't go far enough. That a child of 10 years of age is not old enough to be wearing makeup. Absolutely. God, I was years older than that, and I was afraid to appear with anything, with any kind of makeup. So I think that is, we could maybe, look at that, and it is a start and it is good, but I think it could go further. And if I could, I know that tomorrow night, I've just seen the ads for it, but I think tomorrow night there is a programme actually on Irish dancing called Jigs and Wings or something, and just looking at at the ads for it, or the previews for it, it kind of raises this whole question again. And I know you mightn't think to look at me, but I used to do my fair share of Irish dancing and loved it. And it was long before the days of wigs and all that. I mean, the hardest thing we had to try and do was to get Carrick McCross lace for our costumes, and that was it. If you had that, you were made up. But again, it focused on you know, on footwork and skill. And I just know, speaking to somebody, you know, I don't know, you know, how true this is, but I spoke to somebody who was, when I was actually mentioning that the debate was on, and they were talking about where they had heard that sometimes dancing costumes can be sewn to the person, their hands can be sewn in to make sure that they don't lift their hands while they're Irish dancing. I mean, things like this are crazy. And if I could just digress a little bit as well, I think looking at First Holy Communion, I think that's another area where things have gone a little bit askew. And I know I mentioned before, listening, and I've heard stories of parents putting fake tan on children going for communion, getting their nails done. I just find that is losing the whole, you know, losing the whole plot of what it's all about as well. I remember one teacher friend of mine reporting to me about a child who didn't turn up at the church for communion. And when she went into school on the Monday, she said, "Where were you? You know, you missed communion." And she said, "Oh no, my mommy said we were too late when we got out of the hairdressers, so we just went straight to the hotel." And, you know, I kind of just said, you know, isn't that sad that that's, you know, that's what the parents, that's the way it was, you know. But as far as the child was concerned, they had made their communion because they had the white dress and they got their hair done and they had the fake tan. So, you know, as I said, I fail to understand what can be gained by having small children and adolescents compete against each other in superficial categories based on appearance. Looking at one of the websites, one of the competitions that they have on a baby pageant. I mean, these are babies, you know, with categories like formal wear, beauty and overall appearance, swimwear and overall appearance, creativity and personality. I mean, what personality can a baby, I mean, we're talking about babies here, have on things. And again, I mean, you know, as a mother, I'd say it, and we all think our children are the most beautiful things in the world. But to us, they're number ones, and nobody, I think, has any right to kind of say that one baby is more beautiful or is, you know, I just think the whole thing is ridiculous. You know, as I said, we know that the pageants in America have grown. I mean, they're multi-million-dollar, you know, that there's so much money involved in all of this. But I think if we have to look at, just looking at, we talked about France earlier on and the ban that they've had. And when you look at, consider that such a different and diverse country as Russia also has that. And I think that's very telling, that where they're all so different as countries, but they have the same, you know, they're united on the ban to ban these child pageants and indeed to impose fines on those who attempt to organise them. Just to finish, you know, as I said, today I think children in the modern world have enough worries. They have enough difficulties, such as their friendships, boyfriends, girlfriends, arguments with parents, and in general, growing up. Children also have new and heightened worries and difficulties surrounding social media, as well as drugs, alcohol, sex, and others. It's obvious that children have enough to worry about, and if we can remove unnecessary and negative harms, then we should, because I believe that every child has a right to be a child.